Welcome to part 3 of our sewing up the Greenstyle Creations Embrace Sports Bra. By today, we should have our backs put together with clear elastic in the arms and our front put together with clear elastic in the arms. And now what we're going to do is we are going to attach the back and the front together, put the binding on and put the banding on and the band on, and then we'll be done. I absolutely love breaking these sew-alongs into these small portions like this. It makes it so much easier and less intimidating to do something new. So thank you for joining me on this. This has been a really fun experience, sewing little batches of things instead of sitting down and trying to tackle a whole project, especially when you're doing new techniques and new styles, new patterns. It's just kind of nice to be able to sit back and do little clumps of it and not feel so overwhelmed, if that makes sense. But hey, let's get right into sewing this up. We've had some shorter days, so I'm hoping that this one can stay a nice short one as well. All right, so the first thing we need to do is fold the lining of the front out of the way. Right, so we're going to fold the lining of our front up. And then we're going to take, it says, fold the lining of the front out of the way and stitch the front to the back along the side seams. So I believe that we want to fold the lining of the back out of the way as well. And then what we want to do, right sides together, we're going to attach the main to the main and the lining to the lining. And then we're just going to sew along to attach those side seams together, making sure that this side seam or the seam for the lining in the back line up. And we're just going to use 3/8 seam allowance and sew down and around, or just down over, whatever. If you are using, oh goodness gracious, if you're using a regular sewing machine, make sure you're using a stretch stitch. So zigzag, lightning, stretch, triple stretch, and then 3/8 seam allowance. If you're doing the layered back, you want to make sure that you have the racer back and the racer back lining in this stitch, which we based it on yesterday, so it shouldn't be I just wanted to mention that just in case if you're like, oh no, I don't need a base, which is what I usually do. Okay, and then we're just going to come over to the other side and same thing, making sure our main fabrics are together and our lining fabrics are together. We're just going to go raw edge to raw edge, make sure the raw edges are matched up. And then just make sure those seams where the lining and the main are attached are lined up. And 3/8, we're just going to sew right down here. Just trying to make sure my racer back doesn't try and flip over or do something crazy. Okay, so now our fronts and our backs are attached at the side seam. So we should be able to, I did everything right. Flip everything up. There's so many straps. Okay, let's see. Got. What did I do here? Oh, I flipped my front wrong side out. Okay. Oh, goodness. So much. Okay, there we go. I was like, oh no, what did I do wrong? Okay, so we've got our U back and our front, and our eraser back. There we are. I'm just going to line up these side seams and clip them together so that they don't want to try and do anything too crazy on me, because they usually try to. All right, so now that we've got it all folded, we can see that, okay, we've got right sides of our bra out. If we flip this around, we've got the right side of our U out, and we've got the right side of our racer back out. Okay, now turn the bra right side out, which we did. Overlap the racer back straps. Sorry, my camera's going crazy. Okay. Overlap the racer back straps onto the U back straps with an offset of about 3 inches. Okay, so we're going to take our racer back straps here, making sure that wrong sides together. And we are going to overlap them onto the U back. We're gonna not go all the way, so it's not going to be straight 1-to-1. We're going to come about a 3/8 inch off. So if you want to measure that, you can. I'm just going to eye it, and then we're just going to baste that together there. So let's get this bad boy back out. So just do a little baste so that that doesn't want to move on us. The elastic in this is like taking up a lot of space. Seam allowance space. All right, so we're just going to do a little quick baste. Okay, so all we did is just baste it on so that it's not going to want to try and slip and slide all over the place. Same thing with our other side. Just overlap and leave about a 3/8 inch. You know, you can eye it, you can eyeball it. It just says about. But if you want to be particular, you can get the ruler out and measure it. And then we're just going to baste it on. All right, so now our straps are basted together. I'm guessing there's a very good reason for that, which is why I did it, because when working with something so small, such a small area, and somebody says baste, we probably should do it. Now wrap the inner edge of the front straps around the back straps. Stitch along the top edge, then turn back to the right side and line up the inner neckline raw edges. It might be necessary to adjust the straps here. Oh man, this makes no sense to me. Now wrap the inner edge of the front straps around the back straps. So this is the inner edge of the front strap, and I need to wrap it around the back strap. Okay, so here's my back strap. Here's my front strap. And I need to wrap the inner edge of the front straps around the back strap, as shown. Stitch along the top edge. So again, sorry, visual learner, and I've learned my lesson from just going ahead and doing things with y'all in the past. So okay, that seems exactly right. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our back straps, and so this is my right side here. We're going to take our front strap and we're going to wrap it around so that the lining is on the lining side, and we're going to wrap the front main over the main side of our other strap. And then we're going to just sew 3/8 inches and sew this top shoulder strap part closed. I wasn't sure if my serger was going to like that, but it did okay. All right, now before we move on to the other one, I just want to make sure that, yep, perfect. So then we'll wrap it back to the front. So mine, this side got folded over a little, probably because I was a little bit nervous that I was doing it right, and I had this right up to the side. So when we do the next one, lining to the lining, we're going to wrap it around so that it's on the front, the main to the main, and then 3/8 inches. See if I got that one to line up a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now we have our straps put together, and we're almost done. Yay, okay. Sorry, I needed to work that out because, I mean, I've said it before, I'm a visual learner, so when I just read something, sometimes I'm like, what? So I needed to kind of go through that. All right, if you are doing the keyhole back, your waistband's going to be slightly different than what I'm doing, but if you are just doing a regular back with me, go ahead and follow along. Keyhole back, you'll probably want to just check the instructions a little bit because you do have a little bit of different things. But first thing we need to do is we need to attach our elastic in a band. So we're going to fold it in half, making sure it's not twisted up or anything, and then overlap. So overlap by 3/4 of an inch, and you're just going to sew a couple of it says by stitching an X at the overlap. I mean, that's kind of a really wonky X. What I like to do for my elastic, which is what I'm going to do now, if it were me and I were sewing it, if I were overlapping it, you know what, let's follow instructions for once, all right? Because sometimes I just don't like to do that. So I'm overlapping it 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 of an inch is here. What I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to sew a rectangle around my elastic. So I'm just going to pick up my presser foot. and pivot it around. That one came off a little bit. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go from this corner and I'm going to go to this other corner here. And then I'm going to walk it back to the other corner and then go again from that corner to this upper corner. And then just do that a couple of times because I want to make sure my elastic is nice and secure. Maybe a little overkill, but okay, now I'm actually going to walk it back along the top. And then corner to corner. Trying to make sure I didn't get it on the other side. And then I'm just going to go back along the bottom here. And then we'll do a couple of reverse stitches. Go ahead and cut it. I think that should do. So basically what I did is I made 2 X's and I went around my rectangle a couple of times. That looks pretty secure, I think. So I'm happy with that. I know, I'm sorry. It's yelling at me like, what do you think you're doing? All right, with right sides together, stitch the short end of the band together. All right, so here's our band. We are going to fold it so that right sides are together. And then we're just going to stitch this short end here, raw edges together, 3 8-inch seam allowance. I really need to get an industrial serger so it's not quite so loud. Sorry. Okay. Press the seam allowance open. Well, I don't have a seam allowance, so fold in half lengthwise with wrong sides together. So what I like to do with this is I'm going to fold my band in half so that wrong sides are together and right sides are out. And then I'm going to start to slip my band in. And where I have that seam that I just made when I sewed the 2 short ends together, I'm going to clip that. And then I'm going to come, making sure the elastic is fully encased. I'm going to come find my next quarter point by taking that seam and putting it on the bottom. So the next quarter point is right at the top here. And then continuing to make sure the elastic is nice and in there. We're going to match those 2 quarter points together. And on top of that, and flip it over. I'm trying to make sure too that my raw edges are lined up. In other words, when you go to sew it, you're going to miss a piece. Don't ask me how you know. All right, so now we've got our elastic in our band and it's quartered. So that always helps me. With right sides together, stitch the band to the bottom of the bra. So I'm going to now quarter my bra as well. So I have those side seams already clipped. I'm going to match those up. And then here's my quarter point for the front. And then with this one, we want to make sure we have both linings and main fabrics lined up. So here's our quarter point for the back. All right, now we're going to take and put our band right sides together. So I have the bra right sides out and I've got the band inside out. I mean, I'm not really picky about what side's right side on this one because they both look fine. But if you're using like a directional fabric, make sure your directions are going each way. So what I've found is if it's a directional fabric and it's going up and down, I want to make sure up and down would be the same. Well, I guess, okay. If it's a directional fabric and it's something that's like facing all up, you want to make sure then that this looks opposite so that when you flip it, it's the same. So if everything's facing up this way, you want to make sure that it's facing down here. And then when you flip it, it should be facing up. Or vice versa. I don't have a directional fabric in front of me. Otherwise, I'd be able to tell you a little bit clearer. But I'm pretty sure. Just check it. Clip it, check it. And then if it's wrong, do it again. Because I feel like what I said was wrong, but I always check it because my brain can never remember the right way to do things. All right. So now that we've got this quartered, you're going to see that it's not a direct one-to-one. So we're going to want to stretch it slightly as we go. But you should be able to stretch it as long as you don't sew over the elastic. You should be able to kind of stretch the elastic and not the fabric. And that'll help a lot. So we're just going to sew around, attaching the raw edges of the waistband to the raw edges of the bra, making sure that we get all the raw edges for the back. Remember there's 4 if you're doing the layered, and not getting the elastic. So 3 1/8 seam allowance. Just making sure all my raw edges. I want to make sure those darts line up. Getting back to the back. I don't know what a fap is, but but the back. Just making sure that I'm getting all of those layers then, because there are 6 of them. All right. So now we've got our band attached, and we have pretty much the bra done. We just need to now put the binding over the neck bit. So, okay, this would be a good spot to pause the video for a second and try your bra on to make sure it fits okay, especially in the shoulders. You might have to take a little bit out of the shoulders, or just stop it and test to fit. It's just better. That way, if you need to make adjustments, you can do it now before you put binding on. Otherwise, you're going to have to completely undo binding, which is a nightmare. So pause the video, try it on, make sure you like the way everything's feeling and fitting. And then once that's done, let's move forward. I am not going to do that because trying on a bra on camera would be incredibly inappropriate. So we're just going to move forward. I cut out binding for both the U back and the racer back because I thought I would need it, and I don't. So I just need to figure out which one the racer back is, the shorter one. So, all right, perfect. And this binding is the way that I love to do it. We did this binding method for the 5 out of 4 agility tank, and I really preferred it. It just made it so much easier. So if you shortened your straps, you're going to want to adjust the binding piece that you made. But if you did not shorten your straps, once that's done, we're going to go forward. So we're going to fold our binding right sides together, and we're just going to stitch this little piece, this little edge, the raw edges together, 3/8 seam allowance, just to form a circle. Now, we're going to find the center back, or the center front of our binding, because I like to use the seam as my back. You can also use fold over elastic for this if you want. My Endurance, or not my Endurance, that's what we're doing now. My Callista bra and top from last week, I used fold over elastic and it was the wrong size and it was a nightmare. So I'm a little traumatized by fold over elastic right now. So I'm just going to go ahead with the binding, but you can definitely do fold over elastic if you'd rather. We need to now find the center back and center front of our bra. So we're just going to line up the seams where the straps meet, and we'll clip on the fold there, and then the other fold here. Okay, and now we are going to line right sides together. We're going to put the front middle of our binding to the front middle of our bra, and the back middle of our binding to the back middle of our bra. Okay, and then we're just going to sew it in place using a 3/8 seam allowance. So we're just going to sew all the way around, 3/8 seam allowance, right sides together, not folded over or anything yet. Making sure when we get to the straps that they are fully, we have all the raw edges in our seam allowance. So I'm just going through making sure my raw edges are lined up so that they get that clear elastic in the seam allowance is kind of throwing things off a little bit, just making sure everything's closed up. But that 3/8 should make sure that we get. I'm just going to make sure my straps are straightened as well. Okay. I think that's going to be the trickiest part, is right where those straps are, but we'll figure it out. Okay. Getting back to the other strap here, making sure Everything's folded over correctly. It's going to get in that seam allowance. Back around to the front. Okay, now that I've got the binding on, I'm just going to go through really quick and make sure I got all the fabric in my binding pieces, which I did not. No surprise on my straps. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go back through making sure those strap pieces are right up on there, and just my back is where I missed it. So here you can see a piece here on my back strap, and then a big chunk here on my back strap. So I didn't do a full 3/8 inch seam allowance when I did it because I was nervous about those straps. So now I'm going to go through and just do a little bit more, making sure that those straps are nice and in there. And I'm just going to go all the way through the back. Just go back over the back. That clear elastic keeps wanting to push the fabric out of the seam allowance. I think that's as far as I needed to go, but let's just check one more time. It's always better to check now than to wait until you're done, because I still missed a little bit there. Oh my goodness, and a lot there. That clear elastic is really killing me. I don't know how else to get it. Let's see if we got it now. Okay. I did get it. Unfortunately, though, the strap for my racer back piece is pretty small now. But it'll be okay. Not too worried. It'll still look fantastic. Actually, yeah, that's my racer back. And then I just have to do one more here on this side. So let's see if that got that piece then. Okay, good. All right, so now we are fully attached to our binding. Now, what we're going to do is we are just going to flip the binding to the right side and top stitch it. If you have a cover stitch machine, you can definitely do that. If you don't, I would use a stretch stitch on this one because you are going to need a lot of movement. I would probably do either triple stretch or lightning, just because I prefer the look of those over zigzag on hems, but you can totally do a zigzag hem. But all we're going to do is fold the binding piece over to the front, and then we're going to just hem right on the edge there. Or top stitch right on the edge, making sure that it's then enclosing that seam. That seam where we closed the binding piece together was not happy. It's like, no, I don't want to fold. I hope that y'all watching these enjoy my speaking for inanimate objects. It's just what I do. My kids think I'm crazy, but that's okay. I mean, I wouldn't be doing a good job as a mom if my kids didn't think I was crazy. Okay, so just folding it over as we go. You can definitely fold it over ahead of time. You could iron it, clip it, iron it, whatever you'd like. I just kind of like to go with the flow, so that's what I'm doing. It's a little thinner where I had my straps, but that's okay. I was hoping to cut my binding on the gradient part so that the binding would kind of change colors, but I didn't have enough. So instead I chose the more purpley part. That's my favorite. So still super cute. All right, and we're coming back to the front. I'm just going to go over that fold for where we attach the two short edges of the binding together, just to make sure that that's nice and under control. All right. And pull those towards the back. Voila! We have an Embrace sports bra. Woohoo! You can, if you've got a lot of excess from your binding, you can go through and trim that down, because I did my binding closer to the edge than I did down here. I just sewed it right on the binding, just because I had some of these parts where you can see on my straps the binding was pretty short, pretty small. So if I would have tried to sew it off of the binding, it would not have worked. But how awesome! We did it! Woohoo! I'll need to press my binding a little bit, and I'll probably trim, because I've got some excess, quite a bit of excess in the front, so I'll trim that as well. But the straps turned out excellent. I mean, a little short because that elastic kept pulling on it, but yay! Oh, awesome. I'm so excited. I absolutely love this. So cute. I love how you can use another fabric in the back and give it some different look. If you want, you can probably go through and top stitch the outsides of everything. I might do that later. I don't know. I kind of like it. I know with sports bras and stuff, the more that you top stitch, the more it doesn't, even using a stretch stitch, it doesn't always like to stretch as much as you would like. So, but I cannot wait to see your Greenstyle Creation Embrace bra. So please, 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 if you're watching this on YouTube, check the description. We have a So Long Facebook group where we share all our creations, and I would love to see yours as well. So definitely come join us. And next week, we are sewing up a free pattern. We're sewing up the free Vintage Little Lady Chloe dress. So definitely join me for that, as it's a woven pattern. I know I had some requests for wovens, so it's a woven pattern. I might see if I can adapt it to knits, just because I don't have a whole lot of great wovens on hand that I would like to use, but we'll see. I'm excited, and I will see you next week when we do the Vintage Little Lady Chloe. Thank you so much for joining me.